13 sound, Eagles fans. This is how they got it done today in Chicago. QB1 takes it in for his first of 3 rushing touchdowns. Then it was a party at the Chicago quarterback. Josh Sweat, he had 2 sacks on the day. Javon Hargrave, he had 2 himself. And Haason Reddick got it done, 2 sacks against Justin Fields. Welcome into the Postgame Show presented by Rico. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. 25-20, December football, a win's a win. They got it done, and it's on to Dallas, Ike.
Right. Victory! Woo! Not as hardy as ones in the past, but that's a reflection of today's game. It was not a pretty game, but I love the way the Eagles persevered. Slow start to this game, couple turnovers in the first half. They come out in the second half and pretty much dominated this game. Give Chicago credit. Pesky team, they hung around, but the Eagles showed a lot of resiliency, able to get this W.
Yeah, turnovers on offense, you have missed tackles, we saw some penalties, we saw some blown coverages, but at the end of the day, like Ike said, a win is a win. If you're Leonardo da Vinci, not every single painting is going to be the Mona Lisa. You look around the NFL just this weekend, Jacksonville taking the Dallas Cowboys to the limit. Yesterday, the Colts taking the Vikings to the limit. Today, the Texans taking the Chiefs to overtime. Happens all around the league. What's most important, come away with that W.
There's always still things to learn in a win or a loss, a tight win especially, because your team still got the win, but there's things to improve upon. One of those being, of course, turnovers, which is very uncharacteristic for this Eagles team. Jalen Hurts throwing 2 interceptions today, entering Week 15, had only thrown 3. Yep. So I'm sure it's something he's going to go back in the film and look through, especially preparing for Dallas. But the weather, it looks like, played a little bit of a factor in today as well.
Yeah, and I played in that weather out there in Chicago in December, and I know that wind is a real factor for the Bears at home. It can play tricks with you. As a football team, we saw some field goals missed today, extra points missed today. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those throws were kind of off or got caught up in the air for Jalen. Just wasn't his best day throwing the ball early in the game. And he still managed to have over 300 yards passing. So obviously ball security is something you want to take care of. And that's something the Eagles can look forward to working on after this game.
Yeah, I think the big thing is we know that is not the identity of this team, right? The turnovers have not been an issue all season long. Now, in any one game, that can affect you. And that certainly was the case here in this one. This one a lot closer than it could have been had you taken those penalties or those turnovers away. The Eagles need to continue to do what they've done so far throughout the season. Take care of the football down the stretch here in the regular season.
Hurts still threw for over 300 yards. Yeah. 2 of his receivers both had over 100 yards. A.J. Brown almost had 200 yards today. What was crazy was the first half, it featured DeVonta Smith. We went into halftime, he had 3 receptions for 104 yards, I believe. And then in the second half, A.J. Brown just came alive. His longest reception coming 68 yards. So that's what we love about this offense. That's what we've seen all season long. When things are working for one receiver, you stick with them. And then the second half, you went to somebody else.
Yeah, and A.J., listen, A.J. is one of the best in the game. And, you know, to have the day that he had is truly a testament to his work ethic and his toughness out there. I mean, every time he runs that slant, I'm surprised when he doesn't catch the ball. And it's rare that he doesn't catch those slants. You have to be a mentally tough and physically tough receiver to know you're going to take contact going across the middle and still have the concentration that he has to pick up those catches. Key third down conversions they were able to go to. That's his go-to guy. But it was great to see the Slim Reaper pretty much in the first half dominate the game.
You know what stands out to me about these receivers is everyone thinks about jump balls as the 50-50 ball. Oh, you go up and try and win above the rim. That is a 50-50 ball. To me, the harder pass to be able to catch is the one over the shoulder where you've got to look it in over the shoulder. These guys are outstanding at it. Both A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith excel. Defender on their back hip, being able to look a ball in through their eyelids and secure it over the shoulder. Time and time again, those guys seem to come through. Those are the 80-20s. You just feel good about DeVonta and A.J. going to win on those throws.
And it's the late hands. Like, that's the bread and butter to A.J.'s game, is the late hands. And DeVonta Smith, I feel like, has started to kind of adapt that trait into his game as well.
Yeah, A.J.'s a great guy to have in your position meeting room, right? When you're watching number 11 run his routes, you watch him out there, how he practices every day, the young players can't help but pick up some of those traits. Now, DeVonta had a lot of these traits himself coming out as the Heisman Trophy winner. The thing I love about both of these guys is how they are able to tightrope the sideline. They're able to get their feet in bounds. You know, DeVonta seemingly seemingly makes a tough catch on the sideline every weekend, and he's either getting his feet in bounds or he's getting a knee down in bounds. I just love the fact that we have guys that have the ability to make those tough catches, particularly when you're close to the sideline.
And that's what's so fun about it, is that these guys can do so many of the same things, but they do it in such different body types and packages. DeVonta Smith, 180 pounds soaking wet. A.J. Brown looks like he's a 230-pound defensive end sometimes out there. Watching both those guys go to work is really a joy, and obviously huge for Jalen Hurts in this passing game.
And it was another week without Dallas Goedert. So once he gets worked back into the mix too, it'll be interesting to see how this offense kind of reconfigures again once he's back added into the mix.
Yeah, and it was great to see the last couple of weeks the tight ends were a part of the offense. They were able to get Jack Stoll and Calcaterra in there and get them some throws. This week it didn't call for it as much, but they're out there doing a great job blocking on the edges, blocking on the perimeter, doing their job. It's been great to get number 88 back out there when we get him. It is 88, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a while.
I had to think about it for a second, yeah. When we get Dallas Goedert back out there. But I like the way Jalen typically spreads the ball around out there, and I'm sure he'll be happy to get his other security blanket back soon.
Yeah, that'll be huge for this offense, getting number 88 back out there. The run game, not as fruitful today. A couple explosives on the ground, but when you have those kind of guys in the passing game, you know that Jalen Hurts has the trust in them. And then certainly what Jalen can do on the ground, as we're seeing in these highlights. The QB sneak, once again, old reliable for this offense, but Jalen's ability to create those big plays with his legs and then have the ability to beat you with his arm, that's what makes this offense so difficult to defend.
We're going to keep talking about this, but I just got word that the Jaguars beat Dallas in overtime.
Wow.
Sounded like a touchdown there at the end to seal it. So the final score is 40-34. Jacksonville beat the Dallas Cowboys. Just a score to watch.
It was a pick six.
No
Dak
way.
Prescott threw a pick six to Rayshon Jenkins, 52 yards to the house.
Wow.
That makes you feel even better.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were coming for a live reaction, did you? On the Postgame Show presented by Rico, huh?
There we go.
Back to the Eagles, though. You mentioned the run game. Last week, I feel as though was the most complete win from this team. It was very balanced through the air and on the ground. So like you said, we didn't see as much from the running game. A little bit of a concern was that Jalen was your leading rusher. You don't want your quarterback taking some of the hits that he took today. That's what needed to be done to get the win. But I'm sure those are things that are going to get worked out this week.
Yeah, looking at this team for 13 weeks now, I believe it's 14 weeks now, as they sit at 13-1.
13-1.
They found different ways to win the football game. So I long gave up being concerned when one area isn't necessarily dominating like they had been before. This team usually can find a way to get the job done. And the run game wasn't there for whatever reason. They felt like throwing the ball today would be an advantage for them. Didn't work out well in the first half, but you saw the plays there. You saw the potential for the plays there, and they stuck with it and was able to get 300-plus yards passing today. I'm sure next week when they head to Dallas is a team that struggles trying to stop the run. That would be an area I think we would look to expose next week.
Yeah, and I think when you look at 17 runs for Jalen Hurts, a lot of people will look at that and say, well, that's a lot of carries. It's a lot of carries. Remember that a lot of those are for a lot of different reasons, right? Sometimes there's going to be the option game where Jalen has the ability to hand it off, throw it, or keep it himself. Chicago did a lot to force Jalen to hold on to the football on those kind of option plays. Some of them are going to be scrambles. We saw a handful of quarterback sneaks today, and then you've got the design runs, like what we saw on that 22-yard touchdown. I'm going to break that down a little bit later in the game. But Jalen certainly took a decent amount of hits today. You got to keep in mind, though, not all of those are by design.
Can we talk about this defense? 6 team sacks, 5 in the first half. Haason Reddick, 12 sacks so far this season.
Yeah, let's get to the other side of the football. And they were certainly dominant, especially up front at times. And Haason Reddick set the tone. Javon Hargrave with a couple of sacks himself. You see Josh Sweat there. I believe he had a couple of sacks as well today. But Haason Reddick, man, like that hit right there, I still can't believe Fletcher didn't fall on that ball and pick that ball up. But never mind. That's a great play from Haason Reddick. And Justin Fields is not an easy guy to bring down. It's evident by the long run that he had when Haason basically had him up top and he was able to spin his way out of it. But man, Haason Reddick, this probably was his best game as an Eagles defender. Watching him get after, was it Leatherwood who was the right tackle over there?
Was the right tackle.
Oh my goodness! And they finally had to change.
No, it was Riley Reef. They had Leatherwood. It was in a guard, but he gave both guys the big
He blew up Cole Kmet a few times.
Yes.
Too. He gave him a little welcome to the NFL.
Don't leave a tight end one-on-one.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's just a bad idea all around. Reddick, I agree with you. Like, this might have been his best game, whether it was against the run, trying to wrangle down Justin Fields, just getting after it. And I love the Temple love here. Head coach Stan Drayton, a little Ohio State love of there as well, Ella. Stan Drayton going in. Haason Reddick, outstanding here for the Philadelphia Eagles and this defense.
And look, when you think about it, too, they held Justin Fields to under 100 yards, which is a hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, he ripped off some of those big yards, and you got to give Justin Fields a ton of credit. I mean, he's an athletic guy. That offense goes as Justin Fields goes. He is the offensive weapon on that football team, and to still hold him to under 100 yards is pretty good.
Yeah, watching the kid play, it almost reminds me of watching Jalen last year, watching him play, where you're trying to figure out ways to move the football. Are you trying to figure out ways to put the ball in the end zone and not having enough talent developed around you to make your job a little easier? And Justin Fields, give him credit. He was out there giving everything he could, and he kept the Bears in the game for a large stretch there. But if you can't put the ball up in the air and throw it, it's just going to be hard to win against this Philadelphia Eagles team. And you got to put the ball in the end zone. The one bad play we had on defense where Slay kind of dropped the coverage when Justin was running around in the backfield, I believe that's the only bad play they had today. But Justin Fields gave us everything we can handle.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the most dynamic players in the NFL right now. There's no question about it. But the Eagles tried to keep him contained as often as possible. You know he's going to get some of those plays. And just trying to keep him locked down, that was obviously a huge, huge component trying to come away with his victory. 38% conversion on third down. Once again, the Eagles doing a great job on the most important down in football. Get off the field. That was something they did at a high level once again today.
Look, and they were thin at wide receiver, the Bears. And Justin Fields didn't he just threw for over 150 yards. So although they had some injuries across the board, those corners still did a great job in removing any possibility of getting it down the field.
Oh, definitely. The toughest thing is trying to stay plastered to your guy when Justin Fields is running around in the backfield. It just becomes difficult because he's so fast and he's so explosive. You also want to help get population to the football, but he does a great job of setting up defenders, and the moment you commit and come up to him, he's going to dump the ball over the top somewhere. It's difficult for a defense to be able to corral a quarterback like that. That's why you try to get out there with the guys up front and you leave your guys in the secondary back.
I thought you made a great comparison earlier this week on Eagles Game Plan, Ike, where you talked about the comparison between this Bears team this year to that 1999 Eagles team and young Donovan McNabb, and just how everyone trying to build up around him, but just not quite enough there from a talent standpoint yet.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Five when Five was early in his career, and we just had basically Deuce and Chad Lewis's weapons in Donovan's rookie year, and he was back there doing as much as he could to try to keep us in ball games. But late in the year, we started to see why he was the number 2 overall pick in that 99 draft. He started to show those flashes, and then the following year, we were in the playoffs. So when you look at young teams like Chicago, they start to play a little better late in the season. That's to try to build momentum and carry into the offseason. Looking forward to next season.
And they got a new GM, so this will be their first, I guess, full offseason with him at the helm, and maybe that will allow for rebuilding around Justin Fields.
There's some talent there with Justin Fields. You got to build around him, just like we had to do with our young quarterback. Last year, Jalen pretty much had Dallas and DeVonta as his primary weapons on the outside. They go out and add AJ. Even though we brought the other guys back, adding a guy like A.J. Brown makes everyone else's job a lot easier. So if Chicago, you got to make sure you nurture and develop that young talent at the quarterback position. They got something there to work with.
You got to continue to fix that offensive line.
Let's start there.
Defensively too, though. This was a team, Ella, you and I talked about on the kickoff show. They were number 4 in the league in press coverage coming into the game. They were number 6 in man coverage. That's a really feisty secondary. They had a lot of young pieces that were injured previously that came back healthy in this one. Brisker had some nice plays. The other young kid, Kyler Gordon, a second-round pick, he had the interception early on. So that's a young group defense that gave the Eagles all they could handle. They came out and fought in this game, and the Eagles had to punch back.
And I'd say Jalen Johnson gave A.J. Brown possibly the biggest challenge he's faced all season.
Yeah. He gave him $180.
That's right. That too.
No, he was. He did his best he could on AJ, I guess. But when you're as good as AJ Brown is, and your best sometimes
you're going to end up on top somehow.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep rolling here on the post-game show. But I want to remind Eagles fans to head to the Facebook comments, leave all your questions you have from Ike, and he will get them answered right here on the show on the Ask Ike segment. To the best of his ability.
To the best of my ability.
Yeah, I always got to end with that. All right, well, there's 3 games to go. One more on the road. The Eagles remain the only undefeated team on the road. They got one more shot to maintain that record, and then 2 games at home to wrap things up. Sitting at 13-1, and all week, the players were talking about how the goals are bigger than this record that we have right now. What's the mindset going into this stretch of 3 more games, Ike?
You just want to continue to get better. Obviously, you want to stay healthy, but you want to continue to fine-tune the things that you like to do, detailing your work, because you want to go into the playoffs playing your best brand of football. You don't want to limp into the playoffs, knock on wood. You don't want to be struggling down the stretch because you're so focused on getting into the playoffs. So the Eagles right now, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks, they are really competing against themselves. You're trying to play to the standard that they have set. You almost have to look at your opponents as if they're faceless opponents. Now, next week, we're going to actually know who they're coming up against because it's the Dallas Cowboys. But when you're playing teams like the Bears, the Giants, these teams that may not make the playoffs, the Saints in a couple of weeks, you can't play down to their standard. You have to play to your own standard. And that's really what the Eagles are going to have to fight over the next 3 to 4 weeks as the season winds down and they get ready for the playoffs.
At the end of the day, the motivation this week is very simple. You want this plane trip to Dallas to be the last plane trip you take until February. And that's really what this team is going to be playing for at this point next week, is saying go down to Dallas, take care of business on Christmas Eve, and then come away knowing, hey, you know what? We have the number 1 seed. We have the NFC East locked in. With Dallas losing today, that would set that in stone.
Look, weeks 14 to 16 were no joke for this Eagles team because they were 3 straight weeks on the road. It will end next week. You had 2 divisional games with the Bears smushed in the middle of that, which can sometimes be set up for a trap game. We talked about that earlier. Playing on the road is hard. Playing in the cold is hard. And the Giants and the Cowboys, I'm sorry, Haason Reddick is going to interrupt me. He's at the podium.
You have 12 sacks. Javon has 10. Sweat is 9.5. BG is 8.5. Fletch, I think, has 6.5. Obviously, you're all good players, but is there more to it than that? In that there's so many of you guys that are putting up big numbers in the pass rush?
Man, it's just, first of all, we put in a lot of work, man. We put in a lot of work. That's first and foremost. We feed off of each other energy. That's another thing. It's like once one guy get one, then another one goes and get one, then another one get one, and next thing you notice, we all getting sacks. And I got to give it up to the coaches as well. Man, Wash, T-Rock, they out there every day with us. They go out there early, you know what I'm saying? They get out to practice before us, and whoever's willing to come get some extra work, they always there. They've been doing a good job all year with helping us with the things that they see, giving us the game from an offensive perspective. Rock, just keeping it real, being who he is. Wash, he's the one who gives us the game from an offensive perspective. We take all the coaching, we take our talent, we go out there on the field, and then we let it shine.
Count the steps you took trying to chase Fields all day?
No, I didn't, but man, what a competitor. Honestly, he's a competitor, a great talent, man. Just, he broke 2 on me today. And broke a few tackles, but we knew that would happen. It was just about continuing to play no matter what happened. We knew that at the quarterback spot they had a great talent there, and for us it was just about continue to go. No matter what happens, just keep going, keep hunting, keep getting after them.
How vital was it to have that kind of defensive effort in the first half?
Sorry,
How vital was it to have that type of effort in the first half when it looked like the offense was still trying to find its footing?
I wouldn't say. You always want your defense and offense both playing well, but to say it was vital as if as if we had to pick up the offense or something, it wasn't. It wasn't that. As defense, we simply try to control what we can control. We can't do nothing about what the offense do, whether they're putting up points, they're not putting up points. That's not our problem. Our problem is to go out there no matter what happens and try to keep them from scoring points. And, we keep that mentality. We never worry about what our offense does. Every time we touch that field, it's just going out there and trying to be the best 11 individuals that we can be when we're on the field.
Did you guys talk about how cold it was out there?
Yeah, I honestly... I don't think I heard anybody talk about how cold it was after the ball was kicked. And pre-game, a couple guys talked about it. But once the game was going, we were locked in on that, not worrying about the weather. At one point, even for me, I didn't even notice the weather until in the fourth quarter when the sun started going down. So nobody was really talking about weather, just focused on going out there, playing great football, and getting a W like we did today.
Covered where you chased Justin to the sideline. What happened on that play?
Say it one more time.
The second fumble, the one where you recovered it. What happened on that play?
It was a jet sweep. Yeah. It was a jet sweep. Justin handed it off. The guy he was coming around. I saw him early. And I just was trying to keep the ball from hitting the sideline. I figured, like, okay, I said, I know how jet sweeps work. They're trying to get on the edge. I figured if I could keep him from getting on the edge and turning back in to the rest of the defenders, then, somebody would make the tackle, make the play. I did exactly that. I don't know who got the ball out. I'm not sure who caused the fumble. Oh, it was about, well, see what I'm saying? Like, he kept coming, which my job is force it back inside. Avante came, got the ball out. Next thing you know, I just see it land right there near the sideline. And it's crazy because we actually just talked about, getting the ball, recovering the ball if it's still in bounds, but while it's been on the sideline, and it was right there. And then instead of trying to pick it up and make something happen, just fell on it, trying to give the offense a chance to get the ball and do what they do. We just talked about, honestly, we just talked about it earlier this week. We talked about it earlier this week in the team meet, and Nick had brought it up.
You had mentioned after last week's game, you don't often get mentioned among the elite pass rushers. Double-digit sacks now, 3 straight years with 3 different teams. What does it say about you that you've done that? And is there anything that this system, this coaching staff, and these surroundings have provided you that have allowed you to have the season you've had?
Man, I can't sit here and, say it's the scheme, right? I've done it in 3 different schemes. But my coaches here, they have been, man, anything I ask them, talking to JG, JG, he's just so, he listens to his players. Like, even today, he coming on the sideline, he's asking us, like, what do y'all want me to call? Is it anything that I shouldn't call? What are y'all feeling? And that's a great feeling to have. That's a great feeling to have where DC has so much trust in his guys that he just, what y'all want? Y'all eating, y'all playing, y'all balling. What do you guys want to do? And then not only that, man, Wash, what a help he's been. Wash had actually he coached the offensive line before going to D-line, and it's been a tremendous help. Just seeing the insight from an offensive lineman's perspective has been a tremendous help as well. Other than that, my teammates, like I said earlier, the energy, the competition is there, and it's pushing me to be my best self. Not only that, but I want to be my best self. I want to be the best, and that's what drives me, and as long as I'm going to continue to play football, I'm going to continue to try to hit that goal.
He just gave a phenomenal answer when asked how he's been so successful. Look, he's had 3 straight seasons of 10-plus sacks with 3 different teams. So obviously, from a player's perspective, he can play well, correct? C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he chimed in. He's still out on IR, 12 big sacks at Haason Reddick. But what he said was exactly right. His relationship with Jonathan Gannon's investment in his players. It is a very open communication type of relationship, and they talk about it through training camp, and you're like, okay, I'll buy it when I see it. Well, now we're seeing it.
Yeah, and you got to have that trust between player and coach. Obviously, Jonathan Gannon has a defense that he's trying to run, and he can't just think about one person. He has to think about the whole unit. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with recognizing that you have a special player and you want to put him in position to be successful, to do what he does best. There are going to be times where he drops in coverage. People don't tend to like that, but that's a part of the defense, and it allows Haason, in my opinion, to stay fresh at times. He's not the biggest guy, so going up against offensive linemen every snap can sort of wear you down. He's doing it just enough to be effective and be a dominant player, and you got to give him a lot of credit, man. He's put the work in, so you got to give him a lot of credit.
And to your point earlier, that one of those sacks that he had today came against the tight end. So again, going to the usage, how they line up formationally to create some of those one-on-ones. We've seen Reddick line up inside and run those 3-man stunts to get home free for sacks. The Eagles got home on a number of stunts once again today. They're low down on the list in the league. I think they're still dead last in the league in terms of running stunts, but they have to be tops in the league in sacks per stunt. Whenever they do run a stunt, it seems like they're always able to get home, especially over the last month or so. Josh Sweat, Haason Reddick, Javon Hargrave, really that whole group just outstanding here in this game.
What I also like that he said was we never worry what our offense does, which I think is also a big change from last season because the defense had to bail the offense out a lot of the time. But now both units get to play their ball, and they both sides know that the other side is going to hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, and that's complimentary football. I think anytime you can just focus on doing your job on your side of the ball, that's what you're supposed to do, right? There's going to be a game where, defense may not play well, and the offense offense has to carry the
Sure.
load that day by constantly scoring points. A great team recognizes that, listen, as long as we continue to do our job on that side of the ball, then our teammates are going to catch up to us. And that's exactly what happened. We saw it in the Indianapolis game when they played the Colts and the offense struggled for 3 quarters. Defense did their part. And what do you know? Jalen's able to bring you the victory in the 4th quarter. Second half of this game, I thought the offense really dominated the line of scrimmage and the time of possession. That first half, I thought Chicago just had the ball way too long, some of those longer drives. Didn't put points on the board, but they had the ball. Second half, get the ball to your offense and let your offense do their thing.
All right, let's hear what Nick Sirianni has to say from Chicago.
Came out today pass happy, wasn't a ton of running in the first half. Was that just how the game presented itself, or was that something you saw coming into the week?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both. You go in there and you think you have some matchups that you like, and I mean, at the end of the day, AJ had 170 yards and DeVonta had 126, so we saw some matchups that we liked out there, and so I think that's just how we went out today, and and wasn't our best game, as we know. A lot of credit to them. I know that team, that's a really well-coached team. It's a really well-coached team. That team preaches takeaways and protecting the football just like we do. I mean, I've been with him for 3 years. Coach Eberflus is a great coach, and they got the better of us in the takeaway margin today. Yeah, obviously you're going to go out and watch it, and I'll have some better insight on that. But, again, give them a lot of credit for the things that they did to, make it hard for us on offense. I thought the defense played lights out. I do think Justin Fields is special. He's got some special abilities. I know our quarterback's special as well. But give Justin Fields a lot of love right there, because you see him live, you see it on tape, and you see how good he is, and then you see it up close and personal, and he's special. And it's good for the NFL that 2 young quarterbacks going at it today that are going to be good quarterbacks in the NFL for a while. Obviously turnovers, that's the big thing. We'll look at them. I got an idea what happened on 3 of them, but I'll look at them and make sure we'll get the coaching points right to make sure we move on and get better.
What did you see from Jalen today?
Yeah, the weather. It was cold out there, and it was windy off and on. But he struggled a little bit. I mean, that early throw that got him a pick. He just doesn't have a lot of interceptions. So I would say that play was they were knocking on the door back there. I would say that play was a struggle for him, but he just really bounced back and had threw the ball well in tough conditions, and you have to be able to do that as we continue on, right? As we continue on and you play games in the cold, that's a necessity. And it was good to see our guys winning, and Jalen making some really good throws in there to, end the game out. And we had that 3rd down there, and we had a lot of confidence that Jalen and AJ were going to make a play there. And they did in the end of the game with the ball in our hands.
When it comes to his mindset, Nick, Jalen's mindset, like you said, he had a couple bad plays early, but the fact that he perseveres through that and is still, puts it aside, makes big plays in the second half. What's that say about him?
I think he just controls what he can control. He can't control a bad play earlier. He moves on to the next play, and then it's just it's no surprise. That's who this guy is, and we've seen that over and over again. And I've mentioned it 1,000 times. Like the New Orleans play, he has that stone face look on his face from last year in the New Orleans play, and then he makes a bad play, and he still has that same look. It doesn't matter. Like he continually to put himself in the moment and learn from the past. And try to repeat the good things and not, and get better from the things he messed up. But he's completely in the moment, and I think that's what great players do.
What about rebounding from all the hits he took?
I'm sorry?
What about rebounding from all the
Rebounding?
hits? Yeah, and were you concerned at all with the number?
They forced us to pull a couple balls, and that doesn't mean you can't run just regular inside zone or not read it on the backside, but yeah, he'll be sore from that. We'll be on a short week, but he's tough, and he took the one. You guys too think like there's some plays that happen, and when you get hit, like one that he got hit on by that linebacker is a great hit, but sometimes when they're square up like that, those aren't the ones that hurt you. And so I know he took a couple big hits, but they were pretty clean shots. He got up and he was good to go, and hey, let's go again.
As a follow-up to that,
why was it more quarterback-centric in the running game?
Yeah, I mean that was part of our game plan against the defense that we were looking at. It's not necessarily quarterback centric. It's you're reading things on the backside, and sometimes, just like Fields pulled some too. Like they had I think if you looked at it, they had a lot more called quarterback runs, but then they had some zone reads that they were reading some guys, reading the guy that they were supposed to read, and then so some of it was like that. And then a couple of the called runs where we felt pretty safe with those, and they ended up being pretty safe ones the way we looked at it.
How close was Dallas to going today, and why did you ultimately decide?
Yeah, he's getting there. He's getting there. We'll see, obviously. But he had a good week of practice and the things that he did, and we felt like he wasn't quite ready yet. And when he's ready, he'll go.
Nick, were you more aware that the Dallas Cowboys lost before you came out here? And if so, I kind of know what your answer is, but if so, what are you thinking going forward?
We found out when we got into the locker room. We won. I went to my office to think about what I was going to say to the team, and then actually Bob and I and Kevin Patula were in my office, and it came up the play with the interception. And so, hey, all we're thinking about is how we're going to make these corrections this week, and we're on a short week. So today's like Monday. So we'll be working to fix the corrections from this game and then get going on Dallas, who we have familiarity with, and they have familiarity with us. We know it's a really good football team. I got a lot of respect for how well coached they are at all fronts, offense coordinator, defense coordinator, head coach, and I got a lot of respect for those players that they have over there. So we're going to have to have our best week of preparation to make sure we're ready to go 1-0 this week.
You have to have some emotion.
Well, sure. I don't ever root for any of the NFC teams to win, right? And so, who do I root for tonight with the Giants and Washington? Maybe I'll root for another tie.
Nick, sorry to ask about this on the touchdown run, Jones' first one. Was that the call, or did he read the blitz?
Yeah, I don't want to answer that.
Oh,
How did the
Sorry.
guys.
the conditions down there? How did that affect the game plan overall? And
That's the first time I ever did that to you. I know caught you a little off guard because usually I got long, good answers for you. All right, so remember all those good answers I've given you in the past. No, I told Jalen already not to tell you.
The conditions on the field, how did that factor into the game plan and the fourth down decisions?
Yeah, obviously the kicking situations are a little bit tougher there, so you take everything into account. You take everything into account as far as when you're going to go for it on fourth down, all those different things. The fourth down we went for was the same fourth down essentially that we went for last week in New York. So it changes it a little bit because obviously the weather changes a little bit, and our communication with Jake and Rick and Brett were good, and we did the things that we thought we needed to do to make sure we put them in a good position to make kicks.
All right, thanks, folks.
All right.
Coach said it's going to be a short week leading up to Saturday in Dallas. We got some fans in the Facebook comments for our Ask Ike segment. Let's see what they got. All right, Ike, of all the trends we've seen from this team during the regular season, which one will be most important to continue in the postseason? That's a good one.
Yeah, winning. Simple answer. Yeah, that's a great trend. No, in all seriousness, it's a little odd for me to say it after today's game, but taking care of the football is the thing they've done really well this year on the offensive side of the ball. In order to win in January, man, you have to take care of the football. So I like to see them get back to being able to do that. Not careless with the ball, but being able to be smart with the football.
And creating those turnovers on defense. I think that's the other big thing, too. When you see the teams that go far in the playoffs, those teams that are opportunistic on that side of the football, create those big plays, that typically tends to lead to playoff success.
And hopefully as you keep kind of getting some of those safeties back like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was responsible for so many of those takeaways earlier on in the season, that will also kind of get the defense going in that way, too.
Yeah, getting guys back will be big for this team. Coach just finished talking about Dallas Goedert being close to being ready to go. And when he is ready to go, he'll obviously play. But getting guys like Dallas Goedert back, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, these are Pro Bowl potential players that the Eagles don't have on offense and on defense. So getting guys healthy, being at full strength going into the playoffs, this Eagles team, especially when they get a chance to clinch home field advantage. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but if they're able to do that, man, it's going to be hard to come to Philadelphia and get a win.
Can I say one thing real quick? We're talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the safety position. How about Kayvon Wallace today?
Oh, man. Awesome.
Really, really showed up. It felt like we were saying number 42's name and number often here in this one. Coming downhill, there were a couple plays where he filled the run against David Montgomery. He had some nice sticks against Justin Fields, forced Fields to bump a run out of bounds and off to along the sideline. Showed up a number of times today.
I think we have the NFC East standings for us. Let's take a look.
We should be good.
See what we're dealing with here. All right, so there's the Eagles at the top, 13-1. The Cowboys moved to 10-4. And Commanders and Giants, they're going to duke it out tonight on Sunday Night Football with the same record. Now, they just saw each other not that long ago, so that's actually an interesting one to watch in the NFC East. But like you said, the Eagles they control their own destiny in terms of what the playoffs are going to look like for them.
Yeah, and they know this as well. They know that they are in the driver's seat, and it's a tricky position to be in with 3-4 games left to go, because subconsciously you don't want to start thinking about, well, we don't want to mess this thing up, right? So you almost, instead of just going out and being yourselves and play like you normally do, you start to think about, we're so close that I can almost taste it. So it'll be interesting to watch this football team, as you almost have to remind yourself, this is a collection of new players, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They haven't been through these waters just yet together. And they're certainly handling it and navigating it to the best of their abilities right now. But coming down the stretch, it's going to be important that they don't think so much about the postseason and stay in the moment.
The Eagles only need to win one of these 3 games to secure the number 1 seed, but how sweet it would be to go and do that on the road against Dallas on Saturday night. I think that would be huge, obviously, for this team. I think that's what everybody's going to be gearing up to do here this week.
Merry Christmas, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
But I think what's interesting, though, this week, A.J. Brown was asked so much about what motivates this team. What are you guys thinking about? And he didn't even want to go there, because to him, it's just another game. He's played in the playoffs before with Tennessee, and he said, look, playoff football is different. It's just different. And he knows what that feeling is like. And so right now they're in that headspace where all we can control is the Bears. Now all they can control is the Cowboys, and so on and so forth. And if the collection of guys are kind of following that mindset, it's just a recipe for good things to come.
Well, this game comes at the right time, because they're not going to need any extra motivation. Even though they won the earlier matchup, they still realize the Dallas Cowboys are the biggest obstacle for them right now. And so this is a game that they can get juiced up for. They've almost had to sort of be in a workmanlike mentality the last couple of weeks when you're playing inferior opponents. This is a team that has the Eagles' respect. They have the Eagles' attention, and it'll be exciting for the players to get to play in a game like this. It's been a few weeks since they've had a chance to play in what will be a big game, Christmas Eve, 4:25. Everybody will be watching. Won't be surprised at the amount of numbers from the viewership when this is looked at afterwards. So this will be probably the most watched game of the season in the league.
Yeah, after having the primetime slot the last time these two teams played as well. That was a Sunday night game, if I believe, here at Lincoln Financial Field. Just a huge game, and we'll get into it in the Jameson Nightcap a little bit later. But I think when you look at this matchup, the way that Dallas had been running the ball with both of those back, with Zeke Elliott and with Tony Pollard over these last couple of weeks, I know it didn't quite hit today. Dak Prescott, another multi-interception game, right, Ike? What did you say it was? It was 7 picks?
Oh, yeah, 7 picks in the last 4 games.
Yeah, I think that's going to be big for this Eagles defense. You go down, take care of business from a turnover ratio, like you said. If they're able to create some of those takeaways on defense, that should lead to another Eagles win.
Avonte Maddox also, before he headed to IR, he was responsible for some of those takeaways. This was the second game kind of back in the mix. So next week will be game 3, and maybe we'll see more of Avonte Maddox that we saw in the beginning of the season. But also going back to Kayvon Wallace, like you mentioned, he was kind of playing like he had something to prove, which I like that about him. I like that grittiness to his game, and it's only going to strengthen that safety room as a whole.
And I liked Kayvon Wallace coming out of Clemson because he's a physical player. So you're watching down at Clemson, he played in national championship games. He knows what big-time football is all about. I think he struggled more in a coverage standpoint since he's been in the league. He's never been shy of contact. He likes to come down and hit you. I love that about him. You saw that out there today. He just needs to get better in his assignments, his details, and the coverage, and that way the coach can trust you being out there on the field. And so maybe it was his 3rd year, I believe. I think this is his third year.
Yeah, 2020.
You know, sometimes it takes you a few years to feel comfortable and play confident. And that's what you saw today, Ella and Fran, is that you saw a player out there that wasn't second-guessing himself. He understood his keys, and when he read his keys, he knew exactly what to do, and it allowed him to play fast. I love seeing 42 out there every day.
And the group that we always point to is that 2018 draft class. That's that class that the Eagles re-signed. It was pretty much everybody hit from that group. Dallas Goedert and Josh Sweat and Jordan Mailata, Avonte Maddox. By the time you got to year 3, that was when the light came on for a couple of those guys. Jordan Mailata was on the back end of the roster and it was not playable really in regular season action those first couple of years. You look at Josh Sweat and the jumps that he made from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. Let these guys get better. Let them develop. Maybe we'll see that here from Kayvon Wallace, who, again, here in year 3, still kind of getting his sea legs under him. This was his best performance so far in his career.
Well, Josh Sweat had a 2-sack day. So Brandon Graham in the locker room just a bit ago to reporters talked about Sweaty's game.
Man, it's cool to see I know all about just, and you finally want to have a breakout, you know what I'm saying, and let them know that, that why you here and why they brought you here. And so, like I told Sweaty, just stay with it, man. Stay what you're doing, because I see it. I see it every day. I see the speed. I see the get off, the the togetherness that him and Grave got, like on line games and stuff like that. That's what you need as a rusher.
While we're on BG, here's a reminder to vote for BG for Walter Payton Man of the Year award. You can do it right on Twitter. Give it the hashtag Walter Payton Man of the Year challenge with either a Graham at the end or his handle. Thought it was a good time for a plug while we're here.
Go do it.
Yeah, that's our guy,
There you
BG.
go.
Yeah, very, very deserving of it. I tell you, man, that defensive line room, they have to be looking at each other like, it's a race to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we could very easily, it's 3 games left to go. You could have at least 5 guys with potentially 8 sacks before the season is out. I don't know if that's ever been done in the NFL. And you almost have to look up when you see the quarterback go down. You're like, okay, now who was that? Who got that sack? I know those guys are certainly watching each other. It's a nice, healthy competition going on with those guys meeting at the quarterback, man. And you almost know it during the week when you're watching film. You're saying to yourself, oh, yeah, we got barbecue chicken. Yeah, this offensive line, we're about to eat. We're about to eat against this offensive line. And the last 2 weeks against the Giants and now Chicago, man, Ella said it earlier in the intro of the show, it was a party at the quarterback. I mean, that's pretty much what it was, trying to get back there to Justin Fields. Now, he's a little slippery, so it's hard to bring him down. How many total sacks today? 6 total sacks.
3 straight weeks they've had 6 sacks.
Wow.
5 were in the first half.
First time since 97, at least that's happened with this Eagles defense.
Yeah, I know I've never been a part of that, watching 3 straight weeks of getting 6 sacks.
And you were part of great defense.
Yeah.
Man, it's great watching these guys get after the quarterback. Because like I said, you don't know which guy's going to be this week. Last week BG got 3 sacks. This week it was a Haason Reddick game. It seems like Javon Hargrave is a part of the party every week from that interior pass rushing. So it's a great, healthy competition going on amongst those guys. And when they can eat the way that they're eating, man, Jonathan Gannon has the luxury of not sending extra guys. Mm-hmm. He can just let his guys up front go after the quarterback.
This is a really fun group. And that's the thing, is that when you have the ability to get after it with 4, this is a defense that we're about middle of the pack right now in terms of blitz percentage. They will send selective pressure, not just on 3rd down, but 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, just to keep offenses on their toes. But it's such a luxury when you have the ability to say, you know what, we're going to get after it with just 4 rushers. We're going to spend 7 guys in coverage to worry about what the opposing team is trying to do from a pass game standpoint, and we're going to let our 4 guys go. But then not only that, but then to say, hey, we're going to let these 4 guys go on this down, but next series, here come a different 4. Now we're going to send Ndamukong Suh and Milton Williams, who has a bunch of sacks, and he's really come on lately. All of these guys really chipping in a variety of ways, inside, outside, different techniques. We haven't talked about like Jordan Davis in the last few weeks, right? Just the depth up front with this group is just so impressive, and they continue to do it every single week.
So after today, Haason Reddick has 12, Hargrave's at 10, Sweaty's at 9.5. BG's right behind them there with 8.5.
Wow.
That's just insane numbers when you think about the production of this defense as a whole.
Yeah, and I mean, the Eagles have always placed a premium on their line of scrimmage. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen. You can tell they've spent the draft capital bringing in guys. They spent money bringing in guys. They know how important it is to a unit to be strong up front. And this defensive line is about as strong as I've seen since the Super Bowl year when they went 8 to 10 deep with that unit. And I remember talking with Fletcher that year, and I think he had told me like the most plays he had played that year was like 40 snaps or something like that. So when you're able to rotate guys and keep these guys fresh, it allows them to go out there and play at maximum effort because they know, hey, I'll get out, I'll take a blow, I'll be back in 3 or 4 plays, and it allows them to get to the fourth quarter fresh as well.
Yeah, because you know who's not getting that blow, who's not getting that rest?
The offensive line.
Those guys are out there for 80 snaps, and they're saying, man, here comes Brandon Graham. He's played 10 snaps today, and now I'm getting him at 100%. That's tough to handle when you're an opposing offense. And so this depth and the talent level for this defensive front, it's one of the strengths of this, not just this defense, of this entire team.
You'd think defensive linemen like the rest, but of course BG this week says, man, I hate standing on the sidelines. I hate watching everybody else play, which is a very predictable BG response.
You know why BG hates standing on the sideline? He can't talk to anybody. So, yeah, he's used to being out there going after offensive linemen, talking the entire game. He almost has to be reserved now and wait till he gets back out there on the field. But BG, listen, it's the reason why you're productive at this stage of your career because you don't have to play all of those snaps and you can be fresh, and the fact that you're still healthy. He's a competitor. He wants to be out there, but he understands the big picture.
I think he's going to hit double digit this year.
I hope so, man.
First time in his career. He's almost there. What's he, 2 sacks away from double digits?
He's at 8.5.
He's at 8.5.
Sacking
So
away.
1.5 sacks away from 10 sacks for the first time in his career. I think he's got it.
I think he gets there, yeah.
I thought today was interesting, starting to see a theme of hearing Ndamukong Suh's name come up when there is a sack, because he's kind of applying that initial pressure. Have you seen that from his game? Do you think he has kind of added that element to this defensive line that maybe they didn't have weeks prior?
I definitely do. And what you're also starting to notice is that he's starting to get in shape. Right? And I know he came in and played, he and Linval, they played the first week that they were signed, but they weren't necessarily in game shape the way they should be. So you get a few games under your belt, he's starting to get his legs back under him, and now you're starting to see the Ndamukong Suh. I'm excited about watching him as we go through the playoffs and everything else, because I think he's only going to get better. That toughness, that physical play out there. I know he caught Justin Fields from behind, gave him a nice little hit. That's the Ndamukong Suh I like.
Yeah, I think that when you just talk about just the energy level that second team brings, and Suh is part of that second team. He backs up Fletcher Cox. You have Suh and Milton Williams and Brandon Graham, just those guys coming in on the field. To have those guys come in as the backups, you're an offensive lineman in the fourth quarter. You're saying, what the hell? That's what I'm dealing with here late in the game in crunch time. I talked about it earlier. The use of stunts, I think, has been really, really impressive these last few weeks, because what we've seen teams do with how aggressive and how productive this defensive line has been, more and more often, they're keeping a tight end in or a running back in to help block some of those defensive ends. And so what the Eagles are now doing more of is they're saying, okay, if you're going to keep an offensive tackle or a tight end or a running back next to the offensive tackle, well, we're going to take that defensive end and loop him inside away from the extra blocker. So now that extra blocker, he's blocking nobody. He's useless there on the side of the offensive lineman. And so not only do they lose a pass catcher in the route, but you also have somebody blocking nobody, and that's what we've seen so often. Josh Sweat had 2 sacks today off those stunts where he loops in completely clean.
Never thought I would say this, but Jason Peters, good luck.
Yeah.
All the respects.
Right.
We thank him for what he did here, but the second that star's on his helmet,
oh, man.
Good luck.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And I bet you if BG gets a chance to be out there, I'd love to hear that mic'd up, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Both receivers today, DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown, had over 100 yards. So DeVonta just touched base with some media in the locker room about his counterpart in A.J. Brown.
I mean, they brought him in to do the things that he did today, and just going out there, the energy that he brings to the team, it brings the best out of everybody. So just going out there, being the best version of ourselves, making the most of our opportunities, making them big-time plays.
Kind of going back to the offensive performance today, what about DeVonta made him the target in the first half? Was it the way that Jalen Johnson was covering A.J. Brown, or DeVonta just kind of have the better half?
Yeah, I mean, it probably was a combination of both. You don't get to see the entire field when we're watching it on television, so you don't know if there's safety help over top of Jalen Johnson helping out with A.J. Brown, and Jalen's not going to force the ball to A.J. in double coverage. DeVonta is very capable of beating anybody in a one-on-one situation, and that's just where the ball sort of found itself in the first half. I love the fact that just about every reception DeVonta makes is usually with his hands. And I know people will say, what do you mean? How else is he going to catch the ball? Well, body catching. And that's how you drop a lot of passes, when you allow the ball to get to your body, especially on a cold day like today. So to see DeVonta out there hand catching. Oh, by the way, I got to point out the fact he had no sleeves on. The Slim Reaper was out there with no sleeves on his arms. Are you kidding me? I mean, he was cold of rain. He was cold from rain earlier in the season. So that lets you know the mentality he had coming into the game. He blocked out the weather conditions and said, you know what, I'm going out here to ball, and that's what he did today.
I'm pretty sure the wind chill matched his jersey number here in this game. I think when you look at DeVonta Smith, he had 3 catches of 20-plus in the first half. The first one, first third down of the game, Jalen Hurts scrambling to his left, found DeVonta along the sidelines. You saw the body control, the sideline awareness in the hands there to come up with the catch. Second one, dig route over the middle of the field, 43 yards, outstanding ball from Jalen Hurts, working through his progressions to get to DeVonta on the backside. That just shows trust. And also DeVonta, him as a route runner, and that's where that showed up there on that dig route. He is so smooth in and out of breaks. And then the last one, a 38-yarder, same exact route that he ran on the touchdown last week. It was a slot fade over the shoulder. It's what we talked about earlier, guys. His ability to look in that ball through his eyelids, track it, and finish in the palm of his hands. DeVonta Smith, total package. Yes, Slim Reaper, size, going to always be a question with him, but you look at his route running, his hands, his ability to finish in at the top of the route, and then at the catch point, he's as good as there is in the league.
Let me tell you one other thing I noticed with DeVonta today, and I've seen it several other times this year when he's caught the ball and had tight coverage.
All right, we have to hear from A.J. Brown now at the podium.
You warm? It's nice, man.
Thank you. Take me through that big catch at the end. What happened there, and how were you able to kind of keep on the field and not go out of bounds?
I think that was a little bit of luck, to be honest. I definitely thought I went out of bounds, and then the ref. I know the ref's right beside me, and so I'm like, okay, oh, he didn't blow the whistle, and shoot, I was dead tired on that play. I ain't gonna lie to you, and in my mind, I was like, if I score a touchdown, cool. If I don't, it's okay. Fuck it. But yeah, but it was Jalen gave me a great ball, and
where's that game rank in terms of cold weather you played in?
That's number 2. That's number 2. I played against Kansas City, AFC Championship games, like 5 degrees. Yeah.
What was working in general for you and Jalen today?
To be honest, I felt like me and Jalen kind of got off to like a slow start the first half. But as we picked up on the second half, things just started just going, and we just had to stop just trying to fight against what they were doing against us. You know, my DB was taking away the inside leverage. He would not let me get inside all night. So it's like, hey, we got to start taking some shots and start taking advantage of what he's giving. You know, the wind was blowing really hard, so it made our job kind of difficult. You know, and we ended up hitting some big shots, you know, on the go balls and stuff like that.
Things were tough for you. DeVonta was seeing a bunch of targets and catches. What's that like to know that even when you're not clicking, you have another receiver that can kind of carry that?
I think it's good especially for like games down the road, you know, because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and it's gonna take everybody. You know, when just say like I'm not, you know, playing my best at the time, and DeVonta can pick up the slack, you know, and vice versa.
Had, you know, a couple nice plays in the second half. You talked about you and DeVonta's relationship, and you talked about on his slot fade that him and Jalen made a check and saw the coverage. Was that something similar on that last play, that 68-yard catch and run that you had? Was it a check or just something?
On that play, I had 2 options. If he was off, I was going to break out. I was going to run like a deeper out. He pressed, and I converted it.
offensively at times with the turnovers, but the fact that you guys still had 420 yards of offense. How do you reconcile those things? What do you think about the overall offensive play?
I think in a game like that, I think you just, most importantly, we got to protect the ball. That's most importantly. But I think in a game like that, it's just all over the place. You just got to try to find a way. And I think good teams do that. And I feel like we did a good job at the end putting it away.
When Jalen keeps getting up from getting hit, taking those shots, can that galvanize the team, inspire the guys in this game? Keep bouncing up?
I mean, of course, you want to see guys like they take a big hit, you hop right back up, But I don't want to see my quarterback getting hit like that. He shouldn't have to pop back up like that. But he's a tough guy. He just shows like the type of player he is. So.
As someone who's consistently assigned from the other team their top cornerback, what do you appreciate most about what Slay and Bradbury have been able to accomplish together so far this year?
With those two, I think those two are playing really, really good. I saw it early on in camp, how they prepared and going against them, and it was tough days at camp, So it's not a surprise that they're having this season they're having.
On the big play in the fourth quarter, what clicked on that play?
He was just giving me the same leverage like all day. Like he was not letting me inside. Shout out to him too. He's a great corner. I hope he's okay. I know he got a little banged up. It was a good battle today. I got a lot of respect for him. But he was just taking away the inside leverage, and so I just know I had to win. On the goal.
AJ, what is about Jalen with that deep ball on that particular? It seems like he has so much success dropping it in the bucket. What does that do for a receiver?
He's throwing to a spot. And then it's our job to make room for him, and try not to get walled to the sideline. So I was already in the cut split, and it kind of made my job easier. It's a little harder, especially on the outside, because you got to save room for him. But he was throwing to a spot, I was able to run under it, make a good play for him.
I heard guys in there saying it was a sloppy game, 3 turnovers, and you still have over 400-plus yards offense. What does it say about this team that you're able to do that on a sloppy day?
We got to clean up. We got to protect the ball. We got to clean up the details. Most importantly, regardless of whatever we threw for or whatever, we can't do that. We gotta clean that stuff up because when it matters, it's gonna be hard. Stuff like that can't happen. Sometimes ain't no coming back from that.
Did you notice about the way Jalen kind of reacts to plays that don't go his way? Obviously he had the run first half and everything. Like, what's he like in the huddle after something like that happens?
On the same way you see him, he doesn't show no emotion. I said something to him. He was like, "I'm cool. Don't worry, I got it." And that's just who he is. He's not gonna get up. He's not gonna get down. No matter if he do something good or he do something bad, he's just gonna stay the same. So y'all see firsthand how he is, and it's the same as we see it too.
This is the third time this season you set a career mark in receiving yards. Looking back upon it, this is basically what you expected when you came here.
I mean, putting in the work in the offseason, I definitely felt like my best work was ahead of me. That's what I worked so hard for. I'm still climbing. I still got a lot of stuff I need to clean up and continue to get better. But because I feel like I could have had an even bigger day today. But it's a part of it. I'm learning. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and see what I can do better and clean up the details and continue working.
How many yards do you think you should have had today?
Pushing 300. Yeah.
You obviously pretty close. Did you learn anything about him today? I mean, first time you saw him for 2 receptions in a game, he bounced back. Learn anything more about him?
I mean, I've been knowing that guy, so I mean, I feel like he faced like tougher stuff in his life other than throwing 2 picks. So when he do stuff like that, I think that's simple. From what I see from him, I expect that from him. He's a tough guy. He's not gonna let bad times humble him. So.
Cowboys now
get a win. That's all. Get a win. Do whatever we got to do. Get our bodies prepared. You know, get a win. It's a big division game. You know, it means a lot. We go for the challenge. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. All right, thanks.
All right, for more A.J. Brown, he actually took the phone of one of our social media people in our social media department, and they put it out on all of social media platforms of him after the game walking off the field at Soldier Field. Let's see what he said.
Just came down to Windy City. As you can see the fog. But we just got the dub, man. Fly Eagles fly, man. On to the next, man.
A little bit of a different A.J. Brown than we just saw at the podium. But what I like about A.J. Brown at the podium is his humility. I mean, he was pushing 200 yards today. He's over 1,200 yards on the season. And his counterpart in DeVonta Smith is also doing so well. But he can stand up there and say, there's more to do. There's more to work on. He always has such great words and advice for Jalen Hurts, too, which I think is important for the relationship.
Oh, no doubt about it. And they have a great relationship off the field. That's what's great about having A.J. Brown here. That's different in years past where you may have brought some sort of high-profile receiver in. You have to worry about is the chemistry going to remain with the quarterback there. You don't have to worry about that with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, because guess what? That's the godfather of his child, and so those two are like brothers, and if there's ever a bad day, they'll be able to converse and talk with each other and be able to talk it out. That was probably the biggest thing I was excited about when they traded for A.J. Brown, because you knew the relationship that he and Jalen had is that I don't have to worry about somebody coming in the locker room trying to steal the shine or wanting to be an individual player. Jalen Hurts, I love this saying that he has about he is the thermostat, so he sets the temperature. Nobody's getting out of line with Jalen Hurts as the leader of this team.
Yeah, no question about it. I think when you just look at the dynamic between Jalen and AJ, Jalen and DeVonta, Jalen and Dallas, then you factor in the run game. Again, that's what makes this offense so explosive, so efficient. Tough sledding early on in this game, some mistakes that are out of character, but they were able to fight through it, get through the adversity like AJ talked about there in that press conference, and come out on the other side.
The friendship hit a bump on Friday, I heard, because A.J. Brown was not happy that he wasn't a recipient of one of the Louis Vuitton bags that were going around the locker room. He said he had to calm himself down from that when he saw the big orange boxes coming into the locker room.
AJ doesn't realize he has to give out Louis Vuitton bags. Yeah, you're the one giving out the Louis Vuitton bags. Now, you know the quarterback's going to take care of his offensive lineman. You got to make sure you take care of him.
There's the viral tweet.
Yeah. I was looking around. I said, where is this from?
I tell you what, as a linebacker, I'd be upset. Like, hold on, you're not getting everybody Louis Vuitton bags in here. So.
And the linebackers are right across the way from the offensive linemen, so they were staring right at these orange boxes in the middle of the way there.
It's just another great example of being a great leader that Jalen Hurts is. Go out and get the big guys. I don't know if those big guys would buy Louis Vuitton bags. Most offensive linemen aren't necessarily.
Jason, you don't see Jason Kelsey rocking a Louis?
I can see him actually rocking a Rockport satchel or something, not a Louis Vuitton bag. Something you would get from Kohl's or somewhere like that. But Jalen has a sense of fashion and style, so he wanted to hook up his old lineman.
Come on, boys, let's
pick it up a little bit. Let's pick it up.
I'm just trying to imagine what you would get a defensive lineman if you had the quarterback paycheck and you could buy all of your defensive linemen a gift. What would you buy them?
That's a good question. And man, for Christmas, that's like you can't do something cheap. So I would, I first would offer dinner. Like, let me take everybody out to dinner. But if I had to buy D linemen something, man, I know I'm not buying Louis Vuitton bags. That's for certain. You know what? Man, I don't know.
That's why I ask like questions.
Yeah, I'm wondering like
in the Facebook
what do D linemen like? Well, Fletcher's a nice dresser, so Fletcher knows a little bit about fashion.
Some of them carry the Louis Vuitton backpacks. I see some of them.
Okay, so you know what? That would be an actual look I would go with, is the backpack. I'm not a big fan of the man purse, the Merce. I know I'm a little older. I'm not in style, so the young people like those. But I wouldn't necessarily go with the backpack. Okay. I like a Louis Vuitton backpack. Okay. My wife has one of those. Costs me a lot of money.
She probably deserves it putting it.
Oh, no doubt. She deserves it. Make sure I say that. Yeah,
no doubt about that. House every day yelling victory. You got to buy her something to make her feel better.
That's true.
All right, guys, where do we go from here? I think it was interesting, though, when he was talking a little bit about DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith surpassed 900 yards today. So not only do the Eagles have one receiver over 1,000 yards. DeVonta Smith has 3 games to go where he can also eclipse the same mark.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet that he'll get to that 1,000 yards. So, and that's just great. That's a testament to DeVonta and the job that he's done. But also, when you look at his offense and how difficult it is to sort of eliminate somebody from the offense. If you want to gear your game plan to A.J. Brown, then DeVonta is going to eat. And he's benefited from Dallas not being in the lineup the last 4 to 5 weeks, because then you were talking about splitting receptions with 3 different ways. He's able to get a few more touches. Obviously, he makes the most of them. When he does get a chance to go over 1,000 yards, I know I'll be happy for him as well, because I know how hard he works too.
And that's the thing, is it goes back to the flexibility of this offense. If you are going to try and take away A.J. Brown, yeah, you've got the ability to go to DeVonta Smith or any of the other weapons. But also, if you go during the week of game planning, the Eagles go in and say, hey, you know what? They really struggle with this kind of route concept, or they really struggle with this kind of run concept. They've got that ability to attack you in a lot of different ways. So it's not just those mid-game adjustments where you say, oh, this is what they're doing to stop us. This is what we're going to do next drive. We're going to feed this player or that player. It's also the midweek adjustments or during the game plan meetings where you say, you know what? This is what the other team does not do well. Here's how we attack it. How do we get our best players to attack that weakness in their defense?
I had this thought before we went to AJ with his presser, and I just remember because
I'll
get back
now
to
we got to wrap it up again. Jalen Hurts at the podium.
You took a lot of shots in this game. How do you feel?
Feel good listening to my Anita Baker. Give me some sweets on the plane ride home, watch the tape, learn from it, and move forward.
After that one hit, where you just when you knocked Daddy a little bit, or what's that?
Yeah, it wasn't the first time I've been slow. It won't be the last. They played a really physical game, and it was real cold too. So happy we were able to find a win and then find a way.
Conditions affect you early on, and how did you adjust?
Yeah, I think early in the game, personally, I really couldn't feel my hands. It was very cold. Didn't really have good vision on the field personally. Just there's a lot of different things going on, and I think to be able to persevere through that, that's not something that was done by myself. You look at the special teams, the plays that they made. You look at the defense, how they showed up after the turnovers, and were able to get the ball to us and give us opportunities. And Justin Fields is a hell of a player. I have a lot of respect for him. I always have. But I think in the end, that's a testament to how we persevered as a team and how we believed in one another as a team. And I think, the great teams, the great players, they found a way. And I think collectively as a group, we all came together and found a way as a team. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this game.
I'm sorry. You always say you learn from each game, and obviously that's part of the process. What did you learn about yourself from this game?
Might need to go, when we playing in cold conditions, probably tune myself up for those conditions before we play. I like to come out and warm up with the team. I think I never played anything that cold. But nonetheless, we found a way. Just being prepared on that end, making sure my hands aren't numb and all that. But I think in the end, we found a way.
Along those lines, though, January in Philadelphia, the playoffs might be sort of similar conditions. Has that crossed your mind?
It ain't Chicago.
The 22-yard run, a couple of your teammates said that you had checked into that play. Just take us through what you saw, exactly what you checked into.
Yeah, we try and go out there and trust our vision and trust what we see. And they gave us a feasible look to make the play we made, and it was a big time play in the game. Got up some momentum going into the half.
How important is it, do you think, when your teammates don't see you getting upset after you throw an interception or something like that, or have a bad play? How do you think that affects the other guys when you're not cursing or getting?
Yeah, I think you just never want to waver. You never want to waver, and I always say I never try and get too high, never get too low. Just try and stay the same. And you want to find joy in all of these different moments, because they're all teachable moments and they all form what's to come. So I think I'll never have a doubt
and the outcome of what we want. You know, I know we work for, and I never have a doubt in that. And I want those guys to look me in the eyes and know that there's not a doubt. Know that I'm with the preparation that we put in together, that we'll find a way. And I want them to have that trust in me. So, you know, you look at A.J. Brown stepping up and making big-time plays down the field. Smitty, you know, everybody showed up everybody showed up when it was needed. You know, and that's what the great players and great teams do. And I commend this whole entire team for staying together through everything that we endured today, being able to persevere through it.
We're so used to this version of you, the Eddie Gill version. Was there ever a time in your life where a pick would have gotten to you?
You know, I appreciate being able to getting questions about my life and my past history or whatever. I mean, I think I've always been who I am. You know, I think I've always been who I am. I just want to win. I just want to win. That's what we want to do. Regardless of the circumstance, never waver. Stay true to what you believe in, and stay true to the process and how you prepared and trusting in that. And like I said, I think we did that as a football team. I had a bit of a, you know, y'all didn't ask me about the team this week. Y'all didn't ask me about the defense. Y'all didn't ask me about any of these things. In the 2 games that we didn't get asked any questions about the other team, it's been really close games, huh? So I think the respect that we have for every opponent that we play is very important, to respect every opponent you play, because we knew that was a great team. And what I preach to the football team, what I preach to my teammates is, you know, don't get caught up in the external stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Because when you keep the main thing, you focus on what you're going to do, and you respect every opponent, and you attack every game the same, with the same intensity, and do all that. Control what you can. You know, that's what's important. So I just want that to be known, that we respect every team that we play. And I know that this is a time where, you know, this team, or everybody's trying to break it up, or see how can they, you know, everybody waiting to see you fail, you know, and I think we just want to continue to stay together and do that. And I know that's what's important to us. We just want to win. We want to find ways to win, and we're definitely going to go out there on that field, and respect every opponent we play, and give it our best.
I noticed you had a glove on during warm-ups. You were trying to throw with a glove. Didn't like it? Didn't think it would work for you today?
Yeah, I was trying to find my groove with it. Like I said, my hands were numb early on. They were numb. You know, I didn't have great vision on the field. You know, I ended up throwing 2 interceptions, and it hurt the team. But, you know, I think we responded in a way, the way we're supposed to. And I think we persevered. I think we found a way, and that's the least you can ask for.
When it comes to the deep ball you've had so much success with, and then hit DeVonta, then AJ, sort of that dropping in the bucket, why do you think there's been such improvement in that this year for you and your team?
Yeah, I think the work that we put in the offseason is a testament to what's going on now on the field. You know, I don't make it more than what it is. I think we work really hard. There's a lot of time put in that nobody sees, a lot of energy put into this game, a lot of sacrifices made into what we do that nobody sees, and we get to go out there and express that on Sundays, you know, and that's what it is. I mean, we stay together, we stick together. That's what we want to do. We want to have unwavering belief in one another, and we have a true eagerness to do stuff the right way, the way we want to do it. So, you know, when things are looking a certain way on the field, or maybe it's not what we want it to be, we stay together and we find a way to fix it. You know, and I think, again, coming out here, playing in an environment we played in against a really good team that's been competitive and have played every team that they played hard, I think the great teams find a way to win in this time of the year. Well, that's all you can ask for. So we're going to enjoy this win, there's a lot to learn from this win, and we're gonna move on and get ready for the next opponent.
Okay, thanks, Jalen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Jalen Hurts rushed for 3 touchdowns today, so earlier Fran Duffy broke down his first rushing touchdown in this week's Rico Review.
All right, so for this week's Rico Review, I want to go to the very end of the second quarter. Jalen Hurts runs into the end zone for a 22-yard touchdown on a QB draw. Now, let's take a look at what Jalen sees just before the snap. The Eagles break the huddle in an empty set. Now, one of the benefits of an empty set is that it is essentially truth serum for the defense. You can't really disguise anything as a defense when the offense lines up this way, because it's very likely that with the quarterback by himself back there in the backfield, that the ball is going to come out fast. So if you were trying to disguise anything, that's futile. Don't even worry about that as a defense. So you're forcing the defense to show its hand offensively when you line up in an empty set. Now, what does Jalen see in this empty set? He sees 5 defenders up on the line of scrimmage. Chicago walks up a linebacker on the line as if he's going to blitz. And again, since that's truth serum for the defense, it's very likely that this linebacker is going to blitz. And so Jalen, seeing that he's got 5 offensive linemen against 5 defensive linemen, says, you know what, let's call a quarterback draw here because you've got all of this green space. I'm going to come up to the line of scrimmage and change this play. So he's going to have all his receivers just run vertically down the field, take all of these defenders and remove them from the situation and essentially make this 5-on-5 football in the box. Now, what Jalen does not account for and ends up working in the Eagles' favor is that this is actually going to be a blitz from Chicago. They're going to bring in this safety late, and he's going to rush inside in the left A-gap. Thankfully for Jalen, he's rushing up the opposite A-gap. And so when he gets up to the second level, it's all him and green grass, and that is it. We can let this run, and you can see this is a perfect play call by Jalen Hurts. He comes to the line, he changes the play. It's 5-on-5, essentially becomes 5-on-6. He walks into the end zone blindfolded and gets the Eagles the lead here late in the second quarter. Eagles take the lead. That is this week's Rico Review.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. All right, fellas, here we go. Our 3 nominees, starting it off, Swole Batman himself, A.J. Brown, 9 receptions for 181 yards. Up next, you got to give it to him, Haason Reddick, 4 total tackles, 2 sacks, a TFL, and lastly, sticking with the defense, Josh Sweat, 2 sacks for Sweaty as well. What do we think?
Well, as much as I love offense, as much as I want to go with the Swole Batman, come on, it's got to be Haason Reddick, right? Got to go with Haason Reddick today.
For once, I've got no argument for you. I'm gonna go Haason Reddick as well, and not because I'm a Temple guy, because he deserves it. I think when you look at Haason Reddick, not just what he did today, but especially because of what he did today. Run game, pass game, he's been such an impact player for this Eagles defensive line. Well, let's throw him in there. I think he deserves the game ball here this week.
All right, we got some agreement on the desk, huh?
How about that? 6 straight weeks with a sack for Haason Reddick.
Crazy, right?
How about that? Wow.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on? Chris Long, what does he have to say? Now it's Cowboys week. Let's go there, guys. Tonight's Jameson Nightcap, we look ahead to that Christmas Eve matchup in primetime against the Dallas Cowboys. Like we said earlier, they're 10-4, and they sit second in the NFC East right behind the Eagles. They lost to the Jags in OT today. Jags scored 40 on them.
Yeah. That Dallas defense, man, it's leaking a little oil there. Yeah, it's struggling a little bit. And this ain't the time to be struggling if you got the Eagles coming to town. So it's going to be a big game. We've been talking about it for weeks, and now it's here. Even Cowboy players have been talking about it. Too bad it seems like they may have overlooked their opponent today, and great job by the Eagles all week, reminding themselves, we play the Chicago Bears this week. I love Jalen's answer in that press conference. He was literally irritated by not being asked about the Chicago Bears and their defense leading into this game today. So now they get to turn their attention to the Dallas Cowboys. Can't wait for Saturday night.
Yeah, you always have that, is where that team always seems to have their eyes elsewhere instead of the opponent that they're playing that week. And I think when you look at this defense, they have lost some key players on that back 7, and that has come back to bite them a little bit. They gave up a bunch of plays in the passing game. The run game not quite as fruitful for them this afternoon as it has been in recent weeks. So I think ultimately that's going to be the big matchup here. Can the Eagles stop Dallas on the ground? Don't let them them get things going. That'll be a big theme we'll keep an eye on here throughout the week.
Look, as a Philly kid myself, this is what you live for.
Yeah.
Eagles, Cowboys in prime time. It's Christmas Eve. Two teams that need the win. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
All right, well, we'll have you covered all throughout the week right here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and all our social platforms. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in, and go Birds.